أعوذ بالله من نفسي ومن الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجك. I welcome you to the Mafaheem B1 Session. Inshallah, we will continue with our earlier discussion that we were talking about the different fails. So let me share the screen with you, and inshallah then we will continue on that front. Okay, I hope you're able to see the screen. All right. Remember the last time we discussed about this fail, and we took the example of Nasara, and then we said singular is Nasara, dual is Nasara, plural is Nasaru, and same thing for the feminine is Nasarat, Nasarta, Nasarna, and then second party is Nasarta, Nasartuma, Nasartum, Nasarti, Nasartuma, Nasartuma, Nasartu, Nasarna. Now, this is one set of fails. Now, there is something that I want you to understand, and this is very important. That is that the fail, the action, are always divided into two categories. Right. One is our active fail, active action that we discussed last time. And the other one is passive fail that we're going to talk about today. What is the difference between the active and the passive version? The active fail is where the doer of the action is important for us. And therefore, the highlight is on the person who performed the act. For example, kataba. If I say kataba, that means he wrote. And now my emphasis is on the person who wrote the book. So I would say kataba Zaydun al whatever kitab, al-mantiq. That means Zayd wrote the book Al-Mantiq, right? Now, my emphasis is on the writer, and I want to highlight the fact that Zayd is the writer of the book that is Al-Mantiq. Now, there is another way of saying the same sentence where my intention is not on highlighting the writer, but my intention is on highlighting the action, something that was done. Here, instead of saying kataba, you would see kataba. Instead of saying kataba, that means he wrote, that is Zayd wrote al-mantiq. What I would do is I would say kutiba. Kutiba. So now you can see the harakat have changed. Instead of kataba, it is kutiba. What's the difference? The difference is the emphasis is on the action and not the doer of the action, or the emphasis is on the receiver of the action rather than the doer of the action. So when I say kutiba al-mantiq, I am emphasizing that the book al-mantiq was written, meaning that don't complain about the absence of the logic in Islam. The book al-mantiq was written. Therefore, it exists and it is there at our disposal to learn from it. So my emphasis here is on the concept or the book that was written and it is at our disposal. My emphasis is not on who wrote the book, because here the person is not important. The content, the action is important. For example, Zaraba Zaydun. If I say the word Zaraba, Zaraba Zaydun, meaning that Zayd hit. Who? Bakr. Zaraba Zaydun Bakran. So here I'm saying Zayd hit Bakr. Now, because I want to emphasize on the fact that Zayd played a role in hitting Bakr, therefore I am using the sentence Zaraba Zayd hit Bakr. But if I want to emphasize that Bakr was hit, who hit him? That's not important. Whoever hit. The fact that an entity, a person like Bakr was hit, I would use something called Zuriba. I would say Zuriba, Bakrun. Bakr was hit. Similarly, when it comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we don't say Qatala مثلا قتل يزيد الحسين. يعني Yazid killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Our emphasis is that an entity as pure and as infallible as Imam Hussein alayhi salam was killed. Therefore, it says Qutil al Hussein, or same thing with Amir al Mu'minin Ali alayhi salam. On the Shab of 21st, we say the Kufa was echoing with the voice of the people, Qutil al Amir al Mu'minin, that whoever did it, but the fact that Amir al Mu'minin alayhi salam was attacked. Therefore, the emphasis is either on the action or the person on whom the action was performed. We use the passive verb and not the active verb. Active verb emphasizes on the doer of the action and sometimes on the doer and the receiver of the action. But passive verb always emphasizes on the receiver of the action. So, kutiba, zuriba, kutila, nusira, and so on and so forth. So the standard structure remains the same, that the fa'ul fail, the ainul fail, and lamul fail, the fa'ul fail will always have zamme on it. The ainul fail will always have kasre on it. And the lamul fail will be, sorry, in Madi, it is always fatha. Be it active verb or be it passive verb. You will see here we have active verb, but we still have fatha at the end. Kataba. Here we have passive verb, but we still have fatha at the end. Kutiba. So lamul fail will remain standard, but fa'ul fail and ainul fail will change. Instead of kataba, it will be kutiba. For example, the verse of the Holy Quran, Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Here, what is important? The fact that the fasting has been made obligatory upon you, incumbent upon you, or wajib upon you. So the emphasis on the fasting, the sawm, Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Siyam means it has been written upon you. What? The siyam. So the emphasis is not on who made it obligatory on you, but the emphasis is upon that the siyam has been made obligatory upon you. So this is what we need to understand as part of our active verbs and passive verb. If you understand this, then we move on to the next part of it, and that is the same pronouns that are attached to the passive verbs, just like the active verbs. Now, if I have the root word kataba, my passive verb would be, the first one would be kutiba. The second one would be kutiba. Right? Kuti, that will remain same. Only the last one will keep changing. Kutiba or kutibu. So this is the first three ones. Third party, male pronouns. Third party is absent. He was hit. So now if I say kutiba, it means he was hit. If I say kutiba, sorry, it was written, right? So now if I say kutibal siyam, or instead of using kutiba, let me use zaraba. It becomes easier for us. Zuriba, he was hit. Now, if I bring a name here, let's say Bakr, Zuriba Bakrun, that means Bakr was hit. By who? That is not important. The fact is that Bakr was hit. Zuriba, that means two people were hit. Zuribu means many people were hit. So looking at the current world scenario with all the oppression and the killing and hitting that is happening, if I say Zuribu and then I just refer to the nation, that means the people of that nation were hit, many of them, right? So this is third party, but this is used in male context. When it comes to female context, we follow the same pattern like before. The Arab will remain same, Zuri, but the te will come. The te is a feminine te, which indicates that this verb is an indicator of feminine. So if I say Zuri bat, then I can't say Bakrun. I'll have to use a feminine word here. For example, Hindun. Hind, the Hinda that we speak about in the Tariq, Hindun. Or anybody else, Fatimatun. So Bibi Fatima salamullah alayha was hit by whoever, the oppressors, right? So Zuribat, the moment I get this te, which is a feminine te, my person on whom this action was performed has to be a feminine person. I cannot bring a masculine person here. So Zuribat Hindun. Now, if this is two of them, then I would say Zuri ba ha. So here, Zuri ba ha. That will be two of the ladies got hit. Two of the lady members were hit. So third party, but feminine version. Similarly, for Zoribna, the Arab and everything will remain same. Zoribna. This is the feminine version of a passive verb, where, again, I'm emphasizing that the emphasis is on either the action or the receiver of the action. So this is masculine, male version of three verbs, singular, dual, and plural. This is the feminine version of this is for female. Feminine version of the passive verb for singular, dual, and plural. Now comes the second party. That means I'm talking to someone, the person who's standing right in front of me. So I'm talking about this person, that so-and-so was hit. This person was hit. That person was hit, right? So second party. It remains the same. Zurib ta. The same pronoun the way we had here. If you see second party, you will see here, I'm just zooming in so that you can see clearly. Here we had Zoribta, Zoribtuma, Zoribtum. The same will be copied here. Zoribta, Zorib, sorry, I'm missing the dot. Zoribtuma and Zoribtum. Zoribtum. It will be the same here. Zu, re, b, tum. Here also zu, re, will be silent. Tuma, zu, re, be will be silent. Ta. Zoribta, zoribtuma, zoribtum. This is again passive verbs, male. Then you have passive verbs, female. And these are all mazi. Please remember, we are only dealing with mazi right now. We will look at muzari towards the end of the session today. And subsequently, we will discuss about them. But today, we'll only refer to the state of it. Now, we're looking at the female version. Zurib. Zurib. The tha will remain same, but it will be te. Notice here, let me put that in black so that there is no confusion. Notice here, when it is zuribta with a fathe, it is masculine. When it is zuribte with a kasre, it is feminine. Pay attention to that. These are minor things, but they make a lot of difference. So zuribta here with a fathe is for male. Zuribte with a kasre is for female. So second party, female. Zuribti, that means I'm talking to this person. I'm saying that you got hit for the lady member. Now, if I am saying Zuribta, that is dual. Zuribta. I'm telling the person in front of me, two of the ladies, that both of you got hit, right? So this means both of you got hit. Not that someone is hitting you. I'm not emphasizing who is hitting. Someone is hitting, someone is shooting, whatever. But both of you got hit, right? And Zuribtunna is all of you.
Sorry.
Let me
It
write.
should be Zuribta or Zuribtuma.
Sorry, am I writing second party? Yes, this should be
Yeah.
Zurib I'm writing second party. So this should be Zurib Tuma. Thank you for pointing out. Zurib Tuma for second party. And Zurib Tuma for male and female is same when it comes to second party. Zurib Tunna. Zurib Tunna. That means all of you ladies got hit. So this is the female version, the three siga, the three verbs for female version. Zuribtuma, zuribtunna. Now we're left with the first party, that is me and us. So two of us. So what would I say? Zuribtu, I was hit. Zuribtu and zuribna. We were hit. Zuribna. We were hit. This is first party passive verbs. So if you look at it, the pronouns continue to remain the same, whether it is active verb like this, in which we had nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasartha, nasaran, nasarna, and nasarta, nasartuma, nasartum, nasarti, nasartuma, nasartunna, nasarto, nasarna, and whether it is passive verb like zuriba. Oh, this is not okay. I'm trying to minimize the page, but for some reason it's not minimizing. What's happening? I don't know. Okay, so let's scroll up and see, still not minimizing. All right, so if we look at the passive verbs, it is zuriba, zuriba, zuribu, the three, zuribat, zuribta, zuribna, and then we have zuribta, zuribtuma, zuribtum, zurib zuribtuma, zuribtunna, zuribto, zuribna. These are all the same pronouns that we had when we were doing the active verb. So the pronouns remain same. The verb may change its format. So whenever it is mazi, I'm emphasizing this, and please keep this in mind, that whenever it is mazi, the verb might change, but the pronouns always remain the same. There is no change in the pronouns. There will always be this way, unless it is preceded by something else, and that might affect certain things in the verb, or it has a suffix which is used for emphasis. And most of the time, this emphasis is in the muzare and not in mazi. Very rarely it appears with mazi, but in case it appears, then the pronoun might take a different era, else the pronouns always remain the same. I hope this clarifies the doubt for you, or it clarifies the discussion for you. So before we move on to muzare, if you have any questions in Madi, please ask me and I'll try and answer. So Mazi, we have the active here and we have the passive version here. If there are no questions, then we will move on to Muzare. All right. Now, when I want to move on to Muzare, there is something very important that I need to understand. And because we've been doing Mafaheem Qur'an for quite some time now, it is important for us to understand so that it becomes very clear and also easy for us to learn and study. One, for every Madi, for example, Daraba, let me use black here. Daraba. Now, I might have a muzari which have daraba on it, right? Or, oh, there's a question here. Okay. Or I might have a madi which has a kasri in it. Okay, the screen is not helping me today. All right, let's proceed with this one, then I will come to other ones. But remember, every time we are talking about Madi, I have earlier explained it to you that the Ainul fail can have a Fath, can have a Kasr, or can have a Dhamm, right? So let's say one Madi is Daraba. Similar ones which has only Fath in it is Nasara, Kataba, right? So these are the ones where the Ainul fail has a Fath on it. Every time Ainul fail has a Fath, there is a Muzari associated with it, and that Muzari can take three different forms. Pay attention and it becomes clear for you. The Ainul fail will matter the most. Yaf alo, yaf ilo, or yaf ulu. Right? Now, the verbs, the muzare, the formation, I'll explain it today and then we'll deal with it tomorrow. But I'm putting the Arab here. Ya, ya, ya. Fe is always silent, always silent. In muzare, muzare itself has two forms. One, the regular muzare, and then one is formative muzare, which takes forms like istif'al, like I say istighfar. Ghafara, yaghfiru is normal. But istighfar is taking it into a different sequence where alif, sin, te is a prefix to it. That's why I said sometimes when there is a prefix, the meaning also changes, the Arab also changes. So right now, this is the simplest form of Mazi and Muzare. So Muzare will always have Ya, which is an additional letter compared to the root words. What are my root words? Root words are za, ra, ba. Now I have yaf, a, lo, meaning that my actual Muzare would be yab, ra, bo. Now this is what my Muzare should look like. Yab. Now, Re can have either Fathe, Kasre, or Dhamme depending on the use of the Arabs. My conclusion here cannot be that, oh, Mazi has a Fathe on Re, and therefore Muzare should also have Fathe on the Re. No, I can't say that. It is not necessary. There are so many Mazi verbs for which there is Fateh on the Ainul fail, which is Re here. But in Muzare, the Re can have a Fateh based on the use of the Arabs, can have a Kasre based on the use of the Arabs, or can have a Zamme based on the use of the Arabs. For example, I'll give you two examples here. One is Kataba.
Sorry, Agha. What do you mean by use of Arabs?
Means that, let me give this introduction for a few minutes so that it becomes clear for us. When the Quran was received by non-Arabs, the non-Arabs faced a big challenge here. And the challenge was that the initial Quran that was written, it neither had dots on it, nor did it have Arab. So the Quran that came to people in the initial years, it did not have Fateh, Zamme, Kasre, Sukun, no indicator on it. And therefore, the non-Arabs found it extremely difficult to read it. And like, sorry, I'm not able to understand what's going on here. And there were no dots as well. So the non-Arabs, if they saw something like this, right? So they said, hey, wait a minute. How do I know this is not Jikmat or Hikmat or Hikmat? I don't know. Why? Because I don't know the Arab words. So how do I know what is this? And not just this, I don't know whether this is Te or this is Be. So is it Hikmab or Jikmab or Hikmab or Hikmat, Jikmat or Hikmat? I don't know. So what happened later on was people started rewriting the whole Quran. When I say rewriting, meaning with these Arab and the dots, so that people can understand it. Now, when people started reading the Quran and started understanding, they had questions. They said, hey, wait a minute. I have a mazi here, which is zaraba, and I also have a mazi here, which is kataba. Now, the same zaraba, when it takes the muzare form, I have yazrebo. And the same kataba, when it is taking the muzare form, then it is, let me use red here, yak tebo, yaktubo, sorry. Kataba yaktubo. So how come Mazi has the same format, but Muzare has a different format? Yazrebo, yaktubo. Why is it taking yaktubo? Why is it not yaktebo? And that is when they started doing a term called istiqra, meaning it comes from the word qara'a, meaning village. So people actually went village by village, talking to the Arabs and asking them that what is the mazi that you use here and what is the muzare that you use here. And based on that, they started putting a lexicon together, a dictionary together, where they saw that, hey, there are so many words for which the mazi is the fa'ala with a fatih on ainul fail, but muzare has three different possibilities. It could be yaf'alo, yaf'ilo, or yaf'ulo. So I have zaraba, yazribu, kataba, yaktubu. And similarly, nasara, for example, yansiro, right? So things like that. And they said, oh, so this is not a predefined Arab format. This is not a predefined grammar. So unlike English grammar, the Arabic grammar was derived based on the discussions with the Arab communities and Arab tribes. So there are times where we will find in the same scenario that the Basri people were using a different muzare and the Kufi people were using a different muzare. In the grammatical sentence, the Basris have a different rule and the Kufis have a different rule. And that is what also leads to certain complications. I'll give you one simple example here and then we move on. The example of Janab Qasim alayhi salam, that in the battlefield of Karbala, the sentence goes that Janab Qasim alayhi salam got wounded and he fell to the ground. And the enemy, and the name is mentioned there, he got up, took the sword, and he was moving towards Janab Qasim alayhi salam to chop his head off. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam heard the cries of Janab Qasim, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam started, speeding towards the battlefield. And the enemy ranks that were standing there in the horses, they got scared and they started running towards their own tents. And the sentence here is, and he got trampled. It doesn't say Janab Qasim alayhi salam got trampled. It says, and he got trampled. Now, the Kufi says that we have a rule. The rule is the pronoun returns to the nearest noun. What's the nearest noun here? The killer. The killer with the name was mentioned that he got up from the place and he goes to chop off the head of Janab Qasim alayhi salam. Imam Hussein comes and he gets trampled. So they say the enemy got trampled. The Basri says that no, we have a rule that the first pronoun should return to the first noun. So what was the first noun here? Janab Qasim alayhi salam. That Janab Qasim alayhi salam fell and he got trampled. And therefore, because of these two different narrations, the scholars have two different explanations. Though the most popular one is that Janab Qasim alayhi salam got trampled. But then what really happened is that people from countries like Iran and other places where the Arabic language was not very commonly used and spoken, they went to the Arab peoples and then wrote down the grammatical rules, asking them that why are you using like this? Why is there a noon at the end of the word? Why is it with sukun and why is it with tashdid? For example, when Fir'aun tells the magicians, La yusallibannakum. So I said, wait a minute. Yusallibanna means I will put you on salib. Salib means, let's say, cross or literally hang you. So why is there a la at the beginning? Why is there a noon at the end? And it is with a tajdeed, la yusallibanna. It could have been la yusalliban. It says, okay, la has its own emphasis. The noon has its own emphasis, but the noon with the tashdid has double emphasis. Therefore, when Pharaoh is saying la yusallibannakum, he means I will definitely, with the lam at the beginning, and noon with the tashdid means definitely, definitely. That means there are three emphases with the form of muzare means four emphasis. Therefore, Pharaoh is literally saying that I will definitely, 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 definitely put you all on salib, will hang you. So the emphasis here is too intense. Therefore, the word by itself, for a non-Arab like me, doesn't have a very intense, emphasis in it, unless I look at the Arabic grammar. Therefore, when I say based on the Arab use, meaning that the grammar was derived later on, it was written later on by the grammar scholars. They literally went to every village and asked them and wrote down the Arabic grammar. And therefore, based on that, they realized that if I have a mazi which has a fatheh on Ainul Fail, it can take three different forms where the Ainul Fail can have a Fatheh, Ainul Fail can have a Kasre, and Ainul Fail can have a Dhamme. And based on that, depending on the Arab use, I will know that this Mazi will have this Muzare, be it with Fatheh, Kasre, or Zamme. The use of the Arab decides whether it is going to be with the Fatheh or Kasre or Zamme. As a scholar of grammar, I cannot decide that this mazi will have this muzare. For example, I can't say zaraba will have yazrubo. Yazrubo. No, it is yazrebo. And it will always remain yazrebo, irrespective of my choice, because the Arabs use it that way. So I hope this makes it clear for you that the Arabic grammar was based on the Arab use and was derived later on. It was not written with the Holy Quran and passed on like a teacher's guide the way we do today, or the reading guide for the Quran that it means this and this is the grammar. No, no, no. It's later on that people, when they were getting confused and were mispronouncing the words or misreading the words and misinterpreting the words, that's when this effort was made to gather the information and collect and write the grammar books on Arab language. So inshallah, we will continue with the Muzare in our next class so that the Muzare also becomes clear for us. And then all the words that we've been reading also becomes clear for us, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajhum. All right, so if you have any questions, please ask your questions. Inshallah, I'll try and answer them. If there are no questions, I will end the session and we will meet in our next session, which is next week, inshallah. All right, so no questions today. Great, inshallah. So we will, inshallah, meet in our next session, which is next week. Until then, Iltimas dua, Khuda Hafiz.